with mentorees. That will be my job. Now you say, well, how do you do that? Well, I'm a veteran myself, a veteran of Vietnam, combat veteran, I shall say, a Vietnam Purple Heart recipient, and I've had my own issues with PTSD. I haven't had some of the other issues veterans will be coming into court with, but that's why we're recruiting mentors. We want people that have been there, done it, not necessarily tied into the law, but have had maybe issues with alcohol, drugs, or other issues that came from your military service. And that's what the Veterans Court's about. So I'll, at this time, introduce the judge. Just want a couple of things on me for those of you that don't know me. I've been in Kiwanis now for 10 years. I'm retired from M&Mars. And I was on the Foster Care Review Board for Bradley County for 6 years, and I really enjoyed that. So
you were a board member for the Kiwanis Club too.
Yes, I'm currently a board member for the Kiwanis Club, and I'm also a volunteer for the Department of Children's Services here in Bradley County, and I do work with them as well. So the last 9-10 years I've devoted to my energies back into giving back to the community. And that's what this is doing for me. And this is our veteran community, which is very dear to me. So.
Very good, very good. Well, my law practice is geared a large part around veterans and spouses and veterans that are moving from independence into needing assistance and care with their activities of daily living and what have you, because there's a special pension out there for veterans to help pay for that care. But also, you know, a member of this group that in our community that is trying to help veterans in all sorts of ways to try to get together and communicate with all the services that are available to veterans. And then in that community, we learned about this as well. And of course, Judge Donaghy, you've been very, very instrumental in this. And if you would try to give the listeners a little bit of background and history about where this started and how you got involved in it and what it really is meant to do and to be.
Sure. The Veterans Court is something that is brand new to our area, but it's not new across the United States. They've had them for a while in other places. There are actually 6 Veterans Courts in Tennessee. I'm hoping that our court becomes the 7th. A Veterans Court is a recovery court, and the word recovery court is the new name for what used to be called a drug court. And it's because people who get addicted to alcohol or drugs as a result of some trauma or problem in their life that then they have chosen to self-medicate, so to speak, for those, they get themselves into the court system. And the court system is trying to respond in a different way to those types of persons. So by way of a little history, courts over the years have been a very adversarial environment. You have the prosecutor who's in court who is arguing and advocating for punishment and conviction, and then you have the defense attorney who is arguing for upholding everyone's constitutional rights and challenging that evidence, and it becomes an adversarial proceeding. Well, in recovery courts in general, it's really about what is in the best interests and recovery of the offender. So anybody who breaks the law, of course, deserves to be held accountable for the choices that they make. But if you don't do anything to change them or rehabilitate them or give them tools to change, then you don't expect any different outcome. So recovery courts were born. The Veterans Court is a recovery court of sorts, so it utilizes this team effort. You have the district attorney, public defender, the judge is a critical part, the coordinator of the drug court itself or the recovery court itself, but for veterans there are 2 special players that aren't involved in any other recovery court. One is a VJO, which is a Veterans Justice Officer. You might have heard that just recently President Trump signed new legislation designed to create 50 more VJO positions across the United States, and that's a coordinator, an outreach person whose whole job is to figure out what the veterans' needs are and then sort of break through the log jams. We've got programs in line or in place to help them get housing or funding or rehabilitation, but many times the red tape and the paperwork is almost overwhelming. And especially if you are suffering from mental health issues or drug issues, then to come up against all those issues, it's almost impossible for them to get through. So a VJO is assigned to the recovery court, and their whole job would be to assess the needs of the veteran, figure out where they are in their recovery walk, and then break through those log jams and get them the federal benefits that they're entitled to that otherwise they have not been able to get. The other person that is involved in the drug court or the veterans court that's very different is a mentor. Charles already spoke about being the coordinator for the mentors, and he's going to be sort of the facilitator to make sure that a proper mentor is matched up with anyone who's in the veterans court. So you might be wondering, why do you need a mentor? And it's always helpful to have someone who can be a listening ear just for you, someone who's not judgmental about the actions that you're taking, and someone who has walked that walk so they can understand the issues that are being faced and help the person make better choices. So a mentor is not someone who's going to solve all the problems. They're just there like a big brother or a guide or someone who will kind of point the person in the right direction and then let them solve their own problems. So the mentor would be very much involved in the overall recovery program. They would be working with the team in terms of modifying behaviors. So in the long and short of it, the Veterans Court is very much a recovery court. It looks at the whole picture, and through weekly meetings with the court, they are both held accountable, and then their plan is modified each time to hopefully see positive steps toward readjusting to life as a good citizen would live it.
And you mentioned that weekly meeting, and I think this is a unique part and parcel of this court. Who all is invited to that weekly meeting, and how is that different from traditional court?
Thank you. The word invited is interesting in so much as whenever you're involved in the court proceeding, before you leave, unless your case is totally over with, you are required to come to the next meeting. But a normal case might be set off 30 or 60 days every time it's in court. But in the recovery court, that meeting or that court appearance occurs every single week. The people that are there would be the treatment team and then the offender. And so all cases are staffed in advance, and by staffing I mean those that have a key role in the recovery plan and monitoring and accountability discuss every single case in advance of court. And then after that staffing has occurred, the offender must appear before the judge. If they're doing everything that they're doing, I might say something to them like, it is reported to me that you are attending treatment and you're really invested in it. I'm proud of you. You're doing the right thing. You're making good choices. On the other hand, if someone is sort of becoming lax and not investing themselves in their treatment or not showing up or showing up late, then it would be the court's responsibility to stress the importance and to give them a perhaps a lecture at first or some sort of sanction that'll kind of pull them back into compliance. So it's very, very close monitoring and supervision, minor adjustments to their plan, and it's almost on an individual basis. What works with one may not work with another.
And so they're charged with something that brings them to the court, and that charge is held open until this process takes place, and then the ultimate decision on their charge is made at a later time. Is that correct?
That may be one way to handle it. Another way could even be if someone has been brought into the system, their case has been concluded with a probationary sentence, and if they violate the terms and conditions of probation, a condition of remaining in the community instead of just serving their time would be entering and successfully completing the Veterans Court. So it can be on the front end or on the back end of the case.
Are there any kind of monitoring devices like ankle bracelets or anything like that that they must wear or could have to wear or whatever, depending on the circumstance?
That's a great question. It does depend on the circumstance because every case is really different. But if someone tends to not report as directed or to not be where they are when the probation officers go to make a home visit or to check on them, that's exactly the kind of person that should wear some sort of a GPS monitor. Most all of the people will be wearing a drug patch so that if they use it, it's not relying on what they say, but there's an independent chemical test to verify whether or not they are being true to the goals of the program. In addition, they report to their probation officer at least once a week. They'll be randomly drug screened for either alcohol or drugs, perhaps 2 or 3 times per week. And then as they show greater periods of abstinence, that might be extended with a surprise test now and then. And in addition, they'll have to go to their treatment. Most of these people need treatment not only for addictions, but for the mental health issues. Earlier, Charles mentioned that he suffered from PTSD as a result of his combat service. You know, we send our soldiers and sailors into some very difficult circumstances, and you can't unsee or unlive some of the things that they have been required to do in the name of our freedoms. And if they have trouble as a direct result of their military service, readjusting or even just mental health issues in general, this is a court that will identify that and concentrate heavily on the treatment aspects.
Yeah, one thing I would like to say about the issues with veterans, a lot of these issues come from combat experience, and that is a tremendous transition back to civilian life. You really have a change of values from trying to survive every day to trivial things that when you come back into the civilian life. Some people do this transition without seamlessly. Some don't. I've read some books on it, in different books, and what one person may have a problem with, another one may not. And the other issue is sometimes PTSD for me came in 15 years after I was out of Vietnam. So I have a friend at age 62, same age as myself, and at age 62 he hit the wall. Mm-hmm. So it can happen to your father or your brother, and look, you'll notice these things: isolation, depression, start of alcohol and drugs and things like that. So it's a big transition, and that's what we're trying to deal with.
Well, I hate to admit it. I mean, I'm telling on myself here, but I hate to admit it. But as a younger man, and the term PTSD first started, coming about, I didn't understand it. And I was callous. I was like, oh, come on, and I hate to admit that, but I over time, you have to know that it's real. Just last evening in our life group, we were talking about how some soldiers are called on to go to combat, and they're seeing, they get close with their buddies, and they're there on the battlefield, and they're watching their buddies get killed. And then on the other hand, then when they're trying to defend, they start, or they're called on to shoot and to kill the enemy, and then they may find out that those images holding the guns were 16, 13-year-olds, and then they learn that, and you just can't. I don't know. I cannot know how that would affect me if that was real life for me, and I cannot fathom that it would be a good effect. But when that's what we're calling our soldiers and sailors and everybody to do, and I just really have a stronger sense of sympathy now toward the term and the condition and the diagnosis that I used to, and I know that it's real. And if you have that kind of feeling that I used to have, please re-examine this, because it is very, very real, and it's more common than people really know, I think. Dealing with veterans and spouses of veterans that are from World War II and Korea and Vietnam, I mean, even the ones that have gone on, their spouses are behind, and they are they've witnessed it, and they have stories to tell about how it affected them and their family. The children that we talk to of the veterans that are still with us, or the ones that have passed on, they have stories to tell about how it affected them and their whole family unit. So it's very real, and so that's another good reason to have this special court with a special emphasis and empathy toward these folks to try to get them through the issues that are cropping up, just like you say, Charles. When I first heard about this program, I was all excited about the mentor program, and I thought, I want to do that, but I can't do it. And I can't do it because I never served. I've never served in the military, active duty or otherwise. And tell us why that's such a special part of the program, why you need to have that kind of experience before you can actually serve as a mentor.
Well, that's very important. You alluded to PTSD. PTSD comes from you seeing these horrific things in combat, and you have no feelings about them. We used to say in Vietnam, when something would happen or someone would get hurt or worse, we'd say that don't mean nothing, because we would have to stuff our feelings down because we had to go on and do it again the next day. So that's what actually causes it. Now, someone that has been through that, made that transition back to civilian life, and like I said, some people years later may bother them. If you've been through that, then you know what that veteran is dealing with. You know what got him into that alcohol. You may have gotten into alcohol yourself or drugs yourself and gotten out of it. Well, that's important experience. That's where you have the empathy for that person. You understand because you've been there, okay, and the sympathy as well. But you got to empathize with them as a mentor, but you also got to say you got to change, you got to do something differently. One of the most important points of a mentor is to ask questions of the veteran, not to give him answers. He will have his own answers. The mentor is a coach. Mentor asks the questions. The judge requires a certain something. The mentor would ask the mentoree, what do you think you need to do? How are you going to get this done? What resources do you need, and what can I do to help you? The mentor and the mentoree will communicate on their schedule. They're not scheduled by the court, and so the mentor is there for a mentoree to help them through the process.
And I want the listeners to know you're listening to the Morning Jive with Jeff and Tom this morning on WOOP 99.9 FM. We have special guest Judge Sandra Donaghy and Charles Bagley, and we're talking about Veterans Court this morning. And in just a few minutes, we've been talking about mentors, and in just a few minutes, we're going to give you some information on how to contact Charles or the judge to become a mentor. And so we want you to go ahead and get your pen and paper ready right now. We're going to be giving you that information in just a few minutes. So get your pen and paper ready. If you have served in the military and have heard this program and think that you might want to serve as a mentor to help some of those brothers in need and sisters in need, feel free to take down the information that we're going to give you in just a few minutes and contact someone, because they certainly can hook you up, so to speak. And there's a training process for mentors. Is that correct?
Yes, very much so.
Okay, and so tell them about a little bit about that so they'll know sort of what they're getting into.
Okay, that will be the training. We're actually going to have a boot camp, a mentor boot camp after the first of the year. And what that's involved in is learning the actual activities of mentor, doing some role playing in part of that training. Also, as a mentor. Oh, now got to.
It's all right. You're doing great.
Okay, as a mentor. Oh, now gone.
Let me jump in.
Jump in. I lost my thought.
The boot
Train of
camp.
thought there.
That's okay. Mentors have to have a special relationship with
Right.
their mentee.
Right.
And they are not counselors. They're not treatment providers. They're not mothers to them. And so they're not going to fix all the problems. What they have to be is, I like Charles' word coach. They're someone who might attend court with the veteran, and the judge might give them specific requirements to do. And the job of the mentor might be to come behind and say, did you hear what was said? Well, how are you going to accomplish this? Where do you think, what should be your first step? And so our mentor boot camp program is going to be a program where we're going to give them a snapshot of criminal procedure and how a case moves through the system. We're going to educate the mentors on how does someone get referred to the Veterans Court, and why isn't every veteran eligible for the court. They're also going to be trained by some of the drug and alcohol addiction people in the community, so that they know certain signs and symptoms to look for, so that when they have their meeting with their mentee, if they notice that the person's just not quite right, they can't say, well, I think that person has used heroin. But what they can say is, do you need to talk with your counselor? Are you going to be able to pass your next drug screen? And so just to give them some help on recognizing that. And then another really important aspect is to talk about the confidentiality that is required when you work with a veteran. You will be learning information just like the relationship any of us have with our physician. You know, we can tell our doctor certain things and we expect that to be confidential. That's the same type of a relationship that a mentor has with a mentee. And so we'll be talking about the aspects of confidentiality and duties. Like if someone were to express a feeling of suicidal or express a plan to commit a crime, what duties would they have? And so we'll be bringing all of our mentors together and having a boot camp, so to speak. A lot of information combined into a very short period of time to best prepare them for the issues that they'll have to face.
Very good. You're listening to the Morning Jive with Jeff and Tom in guest studios. Judge Sandra Donaghy and Charles Bagley. We're talking about the Veterans Court for the 10th Judicial District, and it's a project that Judge Donaghy has spearheaded and tried to bring to our area, and there's a definite need. Judge Donaghy, can you tell us about the numbers and the need that you have uncovered?
I'm so glad you asked that, because most of us in our daily walk, you don't go around saying to people, "Are you a veteran?" But in terms of polling our jail population, it is very surprising the number of people with military service that are in the criminal justice system. I have good statistics that I'm getting from McMinn, Monroe, and Polk County jails because it's part of their actual booking process. And I'm working with Sheriff Lawson to get that same question incorporated into the Bradley County booking information. But I have statistical reports from the other jails that show on an average there are 10 to 20. The numbers are right around 14, 15, 16 each and every month in the jails in McMinn, Monroe, and Polk County. Because those are my less populated county, my suspicion is that Bradley County probably has double that amount. So if I were to have to guess, I'd say there are about 50 people with prior military service that are confined in the jails throughout our district. And those are 50 people that I think we as society have a duty to help.
Very good, very good. Well, we want, out of today, we want to educate the public about the court. We want to let people know that it's coming, and we want to let people know how to sign up to be mentors if they are eligible to and would love to do that. We certainly could use them, and the court will not be near as successful without them. It's an integral part of the court.
Absolutely.
And you have, I understand you have the cooperation of the Steve Crump's office.
Yes.
Richard Hughes's office.
Yes.
And the whole community is really coalescing behind this program. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. And everybody is passionate about making a difference for this population.
Okay, well, listening to the Morning Jive with Jeff and Tom, in-studio guests talking about the Veterans Court today, Judge Sandra Donaghy and Charles Bagley. Judge, is there anything else about the court that you would like to express that I've not thought about to ask or anything like that?
Just one quick little thing, and then I'll let you.
Tom looks like he's got a question.
Yeah,
I've had a question for 30 minutes. I can't get it out. This is
Well, it's not been time for questions. Now it's going to be time.
no. I just got not a question, but I just got when you use the definition of court and coaches, court, and when I refer to court is that I'm in trouble. Now my question to y'all is, if somebody's not in trouble, can they still come to the court and get the services, the coaching, and those type of things that they need? If a family member or somebody doesn't commit a crime, but they know they're at a point like 15 years later, Charles, like you said, can they go there, or is there some other place they need to go in order to get that help?
That's a great question. This is a veterans court, so the only people that can be participants in it are those that have pending charges that are part of the criminal justice system. But one of the things that will be covered in our mentor boot camp program, and one of the things that Jeff alluded to earlier, the United Way has a group of people that all have an interest in veterans and helping veterans. So if any of the listeners know somebody that's really needing help, you've identified certain red flags and you want to steer them to the right direction, but they haven't quite yet broken the law, getting them into the court system, you can contact the United Way, and that referral group will bring together the services to hopefully avoid the criminal process.
Yeah.
We also have the county, the Bradley County service officer for veterans.
That's
and
true.
He's a great resource as well, his office. So don't hesitate to use that. He can point you in direction and check on your qualifications for services through the VA.
I'm just thinking of listeners out there that may have family members that they know, if it's a brother or sister or father or somebody, they don't know where to turn. And they see these things happening before they go off the deep end. That's great. I didn't know that, and I
Certainly,
appreciate
we
it.
don't want you to to want to get in this program so badly that you're willing to perpetrate a crime to get there, or to have yourself charged.
No.
There are other means that you can get just the same kind of help
Yeah.
if you seek that out. And we're trying our best to make that more knowledgeable and more available, so that and try to make it a one-stop shop, perhaps, so that people can go to one place and get all the information about all the services that veterans and their families can partake of.
I'd say the best place to start, though, is the Bradley County Veteran Service Officer. That's the best place to start, because there is paperwork. If you just try to contact VA in Nashville or something, you're going to get paperwork and red tape. And so start at the county level. That's the place to start. Every county has a Veteran Service Officer, so that's where you need to start.
And the one thing that I wanted to add is, many times if people are in the military and they're honorably discharged or otherwise, they're proudly referring to themselves as veterans. But the Veterans Court will service that population that even are less than honorably discharged. And so we're finding that as we poll the people in the jail, the label or the buzzword that should be used to target our population is, have you had prior military service? And then part of the screening or the vetting to get into the Veterans Court will be, are there present legal problems directly correlated with their past military service? So this may sound harsh, but just because you're a veteran doesn't give you a pass if you break the law. But if you have broken the law as a result of your military service and the scars that you bring from it, that's the population that we're targeting.
Very good, very good. All right, the Morning Jive with Jeff and Tom. Wanted you to get your pen and paper ready to be able to take down some information, because we're going to let you know who to contact, where to contact, to sign up to be a mentor to this population, to this group, and participate in the boot camp coming up at the first of the year. And this is, again, a very, very important component of the Veterans Court. You will be directly involved in the success of this court, so can't do it without you, really. So we would love to have you sign up and contact. So how do they do that? How can they get in touch with whom and sign up to be mentors?
Yeah, I can handle that. As mentor coordinator, coming to me would be the first place to start. I'll give them my email address out. It's C.D. Bagley, Charlie Delta Bagley, B-A-G-L-E-Y, at bellsouth.net. And if you'll send me an email, if you're interested or you know someone interested, send me an email and put in the subject line, mentor, when you do that. And then I will need to know the name of the individual, the phone number, and also the email address of the individual, so we can get them into the process and get them scheduled to the training and check on their eligibility. So that's where you start right there.
Okay, repeat that one more time, because I'm slow and I need to hear it again.
Okay. C.D. Charlie Delta Bagley, B-A-G-L-E-Y, at bellsouth.net. And like I say, put mentor in the subject line.
All
That
right.
will help me.
In addition, people can always keep in contact with their veteran service officer down at the courthouse, and those people are working with us. So if you've already got a relationship with your VSO, if you contact them and say you want to be a mentor, they'll get the information to Charles. And if there's anybody who knows or is involved with the recovery court in general, the drug court, the administrator or director of that program is Jill Barrett, and Jill can bring it in.
And I'll offer myself as well. If you know me a little bit and this has piqued your interest or whatever, and you just want to tell me that you're interested, I'll get you in touch with Charles as well and get you hooked up to get in there. And if you have questions, call 614-5553, 614-5553. We've had a question come in over text, and I'll give that. I think, Tom, you had something first.
Yeah, I just want to make sure. Just leave us the information to contact. We'll make sure we put it on Facebook, on Morning Jive Facebook, so they can go on our Facebook page and get the proper information, the data, and the information that they need. So there again, way to follow us is on Morning Jive on Facebook, and we'll make sure we get that information on there for you guys.
Okay. One of our listeners has texted me this morning and asked this question: who determines the connection between crime and service?
That's a great question. When anyone applies or is referred to the Veterans Court, and that referral could be by a family member, by a defense attorney, even by the state, or the law enforcement officer that first has contact with the person, they have to fill out an application process. And then part of that vetting to determine whether or not the person is eligible for the Veterans Court will be a legal background check, because we can't take someone charged with, for example, a rape or a murder. Those kinds of people really need to be held accountable for the things. These are not violent crimes against person.
Right.
But anyhow, there will be a legal screening done by the district attorney's office, and then there will be a mental health professional that will actually do an assessment. And they'll work very closely with the Veterans Justice Officer. And so through them using their skills that come with their training, they will then determine whether it is, if that causal connection is there. And if so, we'll rely on the experts and take them into the program.
All right. Good question, good answer. All right. 614-5553. We got a few more minutes. If you would like to ask some questions of Judge Donaghy or Charles Bagley regarding the Veterans Court, now's the time. I'm going to play a song, and then we'll regroup and come back after this Eagles tune and wrap up or listen or to answer some questions, okay? Take it easy or take it to the limit. Here's the Eagles. We'll be back shortly.
And the bright lights faded to blue. I was thinking about a woman who might have loved me. I never knew. You know, I've always been a dreamer instead of my night around. It's so hard to change. I can't seem to settle down with the dreams I've seen lately. Keep on turning out, burning out, turning out the same. So put me on a highway, show.
I tried to play the Eagles at first, and then I adjusted it in the middle. I wanted to hear the Eagles, not somebody singing the Eagles song. So, listening to the Morning Jive with Jeff and Tom this morning on Election Day, and we're here with in-studio guests Judge Sandra Donaghy and Charles Bagley. We've been talking about the Veterans Court this hour, and we are so appreciative of you guys coming in and sharing with us today. You've done a great job. And we just hope that the listeners have enjoyed this program as much as I have and Tom has. So we hope you took down the information and that you'll contact someone if you're interested in becoming a mentor, and if you know somebody that could benefit from this program, that you'll just spread the word and get the word all through the community. And guys, is there any closing thoughts? Anything else that you guys want to leave with us? Our hour, the fastest hour in radio, is just almost come and gone. So thanks again for being here. And any parting shots?
I just want to say thank you so much for letting us come. We want this program to be successful, and it's almost overused, but it takes a village, and so we need support within the community. We need support within the legal community. We need law enforcement to buy in and help us. We need the veteran service officers to all work. And when we come together, we'll be able to identify the people that really need this program and then give them the best chance at successful completion of it. That's my hope.
Well, thank you. And your family, your husband, Robert, is also very active in veterans issues, and we appreciate him and what he does. And good morning out there, Robert. I know you're listening. Charles?
Yeah, I want to thank you again for having us. We appreciate it. We want to get the word out there to the community. I'm sure people have heard about us a little bit, and we want to explain a little more. And remember, veterans, this is our community, and come out and participate and give of yourself back to our veteran community. I appreciate it very much.
Well, thank you both. And what a great segue, talking about veterans and then talking about the freedom to go out and choose our leadership in this country, and what they have fought and sometimes died for, and we're not going to take that for granted. So get out today and vote, because that's what they went there for, is the freedoms that we all have, and so we don't want to take that for granted ever. And we're just hoping that everybody will get out there and vote for the candidates of your choice and take advantage of this great country. Thank you so much for being here. With that, I'm going to play another montage, Tom, and we might come back after this is over. We're going to let these folks escape and get out of the studio, and then we might come up and wrap up, okay? Thanks so much.
I am officially running for President of the United States.
Did he actually win?
No freaking way!
Which Republican candidate has the best chance of winning the general election?
Donald Trump.
There's not going to be a President Donald Trump.
Trump will not be president.
Trump will never be elected president of the United States.
We're not going to be president.
A man who will never be president of the United States.
Donald Trump is not going to be president of the United States. Take it to the bank.
He will never be president.
Donald Trump is not going to become president of the United States. She's at plus 19. Do you think the tapes made a difference? Of course! They made all the difference!
This race is over.
Hillary Clinton has raised more than double Donald Trump, vastly outspending him.
The presidency at about 89% for Hillary Clinton.
Your analytical model has never been wrong. Now projects Hillary Clinton to win presidential election.
100% chance. You still think she has a 100% chance of winning the election?
I do. And what would Donald Trump have to do to turn things around?
Prayer and hope for a Festivus miracle.
This is CNN's coverage of Election Night in America. The fight for the presidency.
Because we don't care. Oh, okay, how Kentucky? Who cares?
Kentucky,
Don't care about Indiana.
Don't care.
Indiana, it's West Virginia, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Mississippi, South Carolina, Alabama, Kansas, Nebraska, and Wyoming with its vote, North Dakota and South Dakota, Texas. up and down the middle of the country, all red.
Arkansas, Louisiana, the state of Montana, Missouri.
Yes, it was at 80% an hour ago for Clinton.
What is it now?
68%.
Okay, God damn it, I'm nervous.
Ohio.
Ohio, John.
Idaho.
Okay, yeah, I don't see a fucking landslide here. I don't see it at all.
North Carolina.
God damn it, if we need Florida, are you shitting me?
Florida.
It is fucking panic time.
Georgia.
Donald Trump now the favorite to win the presidency.
Iowa.
New York Times now has it at 95% chance.
Utah.
Can still win, but in order to do so, she has to win Wisconsin. God damn it! Fuck
Arizona.
Alaska.
I'm so sorry about this language, folks.
Hey, that's a fake news out
This is
there.
language that was live on TV.
Yeah, CNN.
CNN, MSNBC.
Yeah.
This is what they were saying 2 years ago tonight.
What do you want? Mobs versus jobs. You got to get out there and vote
I'm
today.
telling
Take
you
your
what.
choice. Mobs versus jobs.
Folks, I do apologize for that language. That's not language that I use nor condone, but I do think it's very indicative of the feelings that the meltdown that they had 2 years ago. And again, Tom and I are predicting another meltdown tonight. So we're going to be up late seeing what happens, and we predict, or I predict that the wave will be there, but it's going to be red, and it's not going to be blue. And somebody else has got something to say about that. You're live on the Morning Jive with Jeff and Tom, overtime.
Overtime. I like overtime. You guys getting paid time and a half, right?
Yes, we are, for the last 3 minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not ready to answer the question I want to ask you. I've enjoyed this program this morning, but you're always predicting sports. Let's see you predict who will win in the local election.
All right. Okay. Which one do you want me to talk about?
Well, we've only got... We've got, I don't have it up on the screen. If I'd been smart, I'd got that.
Well, you talking about Bradley County? What, the Bradley County?
Yeah, Bradley County.
All right.
Win in Bradley County.
Mike Bell. Mike Bell will be your next return as state senator. Mark Hall.
I voted for him.
Yeah, Mark Hall will be your next state representative, and
I voted for him.
Charles Howell. He is going to return as Dan Howell will return as your state representative.
Bill Lee.
Bill Lee will be your next governor.
And state senator? Senator Jeff, who do you say?
U.S. Senator will be Marsha Blackburn.
Okay. That's good. I voted for all those. Now, what about the last one?
The liquor referendum. Do you think it'll pass or not?
Ooh.
I'm afraid it will pass, okay?
I'm saying it will pass.
I think it
possibly will.
If you're going to make me predict, I'm going to predict that it does pass, but it's going to be very slim margin. I don't think those that are pushing it have. I don't think they understand the undercurrent against it. But I do think it will probably pass very narrowly.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you taking time to do that. I always enjoy your program. You're a great gentleman. Have a great day.
Thank you, Edward. Appreciate you. And the Edward Hour was on last night from 5:45 to 6:45.
To 7.
Oh, it's over. Well, it went overtime.
Overtime.
Well, good. That must mean they were having a good time. I can't listen to that one. I apologize, but I can't listen to that one. I'm in a life group. My church meets every Monday evening. My life group, part of my church, meets every Monday evening, and we break bread together and have a Bible study together. And so that's just right there in the middle of that. And I'm sorry that I can't hear that, but I know that they're having a good time. I know they're doing a great job with it. And that's the Edward Hour with Bullet every Monday from 5:45, scheduled from 5:45 to 6:45.
And again, on Veterans Court, we had the judge and Charlie both in here. If you didn't have a time to get a pin down, pull up Facebook, Morning Jive, like us, follow us, and we'll have the information on there today that you can contact, your contact information if you know somebody needs help or a veteran needs help himself to call and see what they can do, Jeff. So I do appreciate them coming in the studio and sharing that with everyone.
And we haven't mentioned it yet today, but the Bradley County schools and the Cleveland City schools are out today. No school for Bradley County nor Cleveland City schools, and Polk County schools are also out today. And Election Day, tornado, you call it for whatever it is. I think they had planned to be out for the election anyway, but I'm not sure about
Well,
that.
there's a lot of, like Stewart School, voting booths, and
Exactly.
and, so people be coming in and out. So
Yeah.
I'm glad they do that, Jeff.
Yeah,
Security.
Exactly. That's good stuff. And anyway, no school for them. And Sweet Navy, she goes to school an hour late today. So I want to let her tell
Hello,
us about
this is Maybe Miller. You're listening to my dad on the Morning Jive with Jeff and Tom.
There you go. She's always popping up out there.
She's always mesmerized by Tom. I tell you what, she's loved Tom.
I love her too.
She's got a big crush on Tom, I think.
I love her too. I got a crush on her.
Maybe Miller. All right. Well, Tom, the fastest hour in radio is coming on. We got a great program in today. I was very impressed, and we've got some great information. It's Election Day. We've got a lot to look forward to tonight. Oh my goodness! I'm gonna have to take a nap.
College basketball kicks off today.
I'm gonna have to take a nap sometime today, Tom. I'm gonna have to find a window to take a nap to get ready for the returns tonight.
Returns in basketball both. I mean, you can't get any better than this. You better have a couple TVs going, because there again, you got Michigan State and Kansas #1. It's at 7 night on ESPN, and then you've got Tennessee against Lenore Ryan at 7 o'clock on.
Is it televised?
It's televised, yeah, on the Southeast Network. So, you got Florida and Florida State, in-state rivalry. Not only they're voting down there, but they got an in-state rivalry. Florida State is number 17. So, here we go, folks. I mean, it's going to be something else. Let's see. Tennessee is. Let's see what Tennessee's favored of. Let's see. They don't have a point spread for Tennessee. They do. They do have for Kansas. Kansas is giving Michigan State 6. Total points of 154.5. So, over and under. That's a lot of points. Yeah. All right, Jeff. Let's carry us out of here. Let's wind this thing up.
Okay. Well, we want you to know how much we appreciate you listening to us and sharing your morning with us here on the Morning Jive with Jeff and Tom. We're going to be back with you Thursday. Regrettably, we won't be back tomorrow to talk about election returns and results, but Backfire will be here, and I'm sure that'll be a topic of conversation with them.
You better listen to them.
And so that'll be tomorrow from 7:30 to 8:30 right here on Whoop FM, and then we'll be back Thursday morning, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m., and we'll be doing some countdowns of our own, I guess, and talking about the elections at that time, too. Don't forget the Morning Mimosas coming up Thursday as well, and the Edward Hour every Monday. Good Sports will be coming on Thursday night. So, hey, you got a lot to look forward to here on Whoop FM. So thanks again. Until we meet again, keep moving onward and keep your eyes looking upward. Thank you very much.
I'm going to have to play this song here in honorary of leap year, if you know what I'm talking about.
Organic food and foreign cars. I don't believe the price of gold, the certainty of growing old, that right is right and left is wrong, that north and south can't get along, that east is east and west is west, and being first is always best. But I believe in love, I believe in baby, I believe in mom and dad, and I believe in you. Well, I don't believe that heaven waits for only those who congregate. I like to think of God as love. He's down below, he's up above. He's watching people